I'm an agent of chaos. And you know the thing about chaos? It's fair.
Get that stuff out of here! It's Southwest Bias!
It is Southwest Bias live from Studio K, brought to you by our friends at Circle K. Become a member of the Inner Circle. And yeah, chaos was night one of the NBA draft here in Phoenix as the Phoenix Suns completely changed their entire center group in about a minute and a half last night. As with the number 10 pick, they took Khaman Maluach and then traded for Charlotte center Mark Williams. And all of a sudden, the Suns changed everything, but it left one ESPN analyst asking this question.
Respectfully, what on earth are the Phoenix Suns doing?
Screaming A, what the Phoenix Suns are doing is fixing a roster. They're doing exactly what they told everybody that they do. Get younger, get more athletic, and get gritty on the defensive end of the court. And they accomplished that in just a matter of days. Now, it's not a finished product, but let's take a look at the people who have come in and out of the Suns lineup since Sunday. In is Khaman Maluach, Mark Williams, Dillon Brooks, and Jalen Green. Out, essentially, is Kevin Durant. In a matter of just a few moves, the Suns answered their center questions. They added toughness and defense in terms of around the rim, and they added a young athletic player. Are they done? No, we talked about it the other day. When you remodel your house, the first thing that happens is demolition, and things look a little messy. But guess what? When we see the finished product, I bet it looks a hell of a lot different than a roster that's just shooting guards and centers. So pump the brake before you freak out about all this and wonder what on earth the Phoenix Suns are doing. And that's not just for Stephen A. That's in general. Because this team is accomplishing what they told you they'd do in the press conferences earlier this year. Yeah, we joked about alignment. We joked about all that. But they are making the moves to try to put together a better roster around Devin Booker, a younger roster, and one that can actually play defense. One that comes with a passion and a fire and a desire to be out there. And that's what Maluach has. This kid wasn't expected to be a 10. He was the dream pick for this team when they moved up into the lottery by trading Kevin Durant. And guess what? That lottery ticket came in. He is one of the best rim protectors that was in this draft. He has a high ceiling in other areas, but can help now in the present. This kid is exactly what you wanted to have at that center position to grow there and help as a backup, right? I mean, I look at it and he's the best value in the draft. He's an athletic freak at 7'2". He can catch lobs. He has a handle, which I didn't expect. I went and was watching a lot about this kid, and he has a handle, and it looks like he could develop into having an outside shot. I mean, this is a kid that helps you in so many areas, and that's before you even get to his story. He had to leave his war-torn home to try to find some place to grow up. His mother took him out of his war-torn home in Uganda and wound up getting a better life and putting him in a position to succeed. He didn't pick up a basketball till he was 13. The kid's going to be 19 this season. He didn't pick up a basketball till he was 13. And I watched a video from Whistle where his trainer was talking about how hard this kid has to work and all the work he put in, and that when asked about, hey, is there too much pressure, Maluach said, you can't break the broken, referring to how he grew up and what he saw, right? And that this isn't tough because he's been through so much. To me, he's the anti-DeAndre Ayton. He's a guy that wants to be in the gym constantly. He's a guy that wants to put in the work to make his home country proud, that he doesn't care about the noise. I fell in love with him watching these clips, and I think you'll fall in love with his game as well. I recommend going and watching that Whistle Sports little documentary they did on him. I recommend going and reading the Anscape piece as well. You will learn a lot about this kid, but that's not all the Suns did. Like I said, within minutes, they traded for the starting center from Charlotte, Mark Williams, a guy who is a quality starting center in this league and is only 23 years old. Yeah, there's some injury questions, but the Suns obviously don't feel like that is a huge worry, and they feel like having him and his Duke brethren Maluach on the roster will turn this into a formidable defensive team. And you look at Mark Williams' stats, 15.2 points, 10.2 rebounds a game, 1.2 blocks. And you go, this guy's good. This isn't some of the patchwork you tried to put together at that center position over the last few years. You took a position of weakness only a few days ago, and you turned it into a position of strength. You took defense, which is a word that has been something that Phoenix has been allergic to over the 56 years it's been a team in the NBA, and turned that into one of the biggest pluses about your current roster with Dillon Brooks in your center rotation. You have done more in the last few days than I think many expected. And you got Mark Williams at a vastly discounted price compared to what the Lakers were willing to give up. You're going to give up Dalton Connect, 2 first-rounders, Cam Reddish. Like, they were going to go all in. And I know, the trade got voided. There's a lot of questions about whether the Lakers just got cold feet or if it really was voided because of health issues. I don't believe that it was. So you look at this, and the Suns aren't finished. The roster looks flawed, and there still may be some flaws before the beginning of the season. But I guarantee you they're not going to have this glut of shooting guards and centers. It'll make sense in the end with these pieces, but what they got is exactly what they set out to. So what on earth are the Phoenix Suns doing, Stephen A. Smith? Exactly what they told you. Trying to get better around Devin Booker now and in the future. But maybe that's just my Southwest bias. It is time to welcome in the mustache behind the Mac, Shane Diefenbach, a man who was working his ass off last night and this morning.
Specifically for this.
This is it. This is everything Shane's done. For the audio listeners, I am now in a scuba outfit, and Shane is a clownfish because apparently Teletubbies wasn't enough for everyone. Shane, how did you feel about draft night? You were obviously very busy helping produce the Suns draft night special, but how did you feel about what the Suns walked away with?
I have to stop this. I'm going back.
Thank you.
I woke up a little more confused than anything about the Mark Williams trade still. I'm just like, it's so weird to me because you got a guy who, yes, is raw, but you're not looking to win a title next year if you're the Suns. You're looking to build and develop because of, obviously the path is to go younger. But I don't know, if all things align, this could be a great trade, but then you still have 2 centers that, Like, obviously, Nick Richards is going to get moved, or Oso is going to get moved.
Well, Nick Richards, I believe, has a option that they could decline and get out of paying him as well.
Oh, really?
I believe so. So that's
I know
that's something.
But that's on the 29th, right? That's
yeah.
So
it's a few days, and I mean, it's only $5 million with him as well. So trading him later on wouldn't be a surprise either.
Yeah.
I mean, and other people are freaking about this 2029 pick. Let me remind you, that is the worst of Cleveland, Minnesota, and Utah's pick. It's not even yours. So if you're in the "we got a tank" crowd, you wouldn't have been able to tank anyways with that pick. You were going to wind up with likely another back end of the first round pick.
Yeah, this year's 29th pick, I think, is more valuable just because of how things shook out at the end of that second round. Like, there were a lot of players that I liked for the Suns in that spot, but a late first round pick is a late first round pick.
Mm-hmm.
And I know the comparison thing, like, people don't want to hear it because of the injuries and whatever, but we talked about it last night. We beat it to death on the show. We beat it to death on social. Like, what the Lakers were willing to give up for Mark Williams is far more than what the Suns were going to give up. Yeah, one of them was a pick swap, but one of them was a first round pick that was unprotected. One of them was a pick that they gave up, or that they took Dalton Connect with.
Yeah, I mean,
and another one was, I know Cam Reddish, his career hasn't played out like everyone's thinking, but that's still a former first round pick.
Yeah, and I think the Suns very easily could trade up tonight to get back into that first part of the first round or second round to try to get some of this value that's on the board. I seriously think that is something that could happen for this team for sure. And I think there's a world where Ott could wind up finding a way to play both of these guys together if Maluach's three-point shot continues to develop as well. I mean, look, I know I based that around Stephen A. Smith asking that question. He wasn't the only one. There was a lot of dislike for at least the trade. I mean, the Maluach pick seemed to get praise across the board because he dropped and nobody expected it, and the Suns were the beneficiaries of that. But overall, I look at this and I think that if you had told me 4 days ago, 5 days ago, that this is what you were going to walk away with in terms of what you got for Kevin Durant and what you did on draft night, I would have said Brian Gregory did pretty great for his first, 3 major moves that he made. Yeah, maybe the Kevin Durant value was a little less than you hoped, but I think that was more what KD was able to do in terms of his leverage. You look at this, and again, you look at who went out, which was essentially Kevin Durant, and that's it, and a few picks, and what you got back in return, and you've addressed so many of your issues. So many of your issues. And yeah, Bradley Beal's still a big question mark, but we knew that was going to be the case and that it was going to take a while. But we got free agency coming up again, and there's names swirling around, some familiar, like Chris Paul and others that can continue to buoy this roster. Like, again, I feel much more optimistic than I did 4 days ago. But you know what? I'm not the expert when it comes to draft picks, and we've got our friend Tyler Tucker from No Ceilings, a draft analyst, that'll be joining us shortly after the break. He's going to tell you everything you need to know about Khaman Maluach and everything that you need to know about what's coming up in the second round. That's next after the break. Look, we've all got friends that just wind up not paying you when you make a bet, right? They just go, yeah, let's bet on that, and then never do anything to actually fulfill that when inevitably they lose. Well, our friends at VMe have you covered. The app is unbelievable. It's simple. You make a wager with a friend or multiple friends. You pay right through the system. So you're not like, hey, when am I getting my cash? Or can you use something to send me money? No, it's all right there. And it's super easy. And I tell you, I've done this. I challenged Shane about who was going to say the word alignment. I guess I owe you some money on VMe, Shane. I guess I owe you some money. But hey, you wanna wager on who Bradley Beal is gonna get traded for, or if he's gonna get traded? You know what? VME is where you can do it, and you can do your fantasy football, poker nights, golf games, push-up contests, whatever you want with VME. Download the VME app and play today using promo code PHNX. Available on the App Store, Google Play, VME. Anyone, anything, anytime. And then you know what? I got to tell you about my friends at All Pro Shade Concepts. Hot here in Phoenix. Your backyard, you want to be able to use, right? You want to be able to shade the inside of your home because that heat just radiates through those windows. Where our friends at All Pro Shade Concepts have you covered. And I'm not just telling you this because they told me to read it off a piece of paper. I'm a customer, and they took care of me spectacularly, and I know that they're going to take care of you the same way with any of your shade needs. You need an awning, you need a window covering. They've got you covered, and they've got the best materials, service, and installation that you are going to find in the business. And the best part, if you want a free quote, you call them, you tell them that Espo sent you, and they're going to say, who? But they'll still give you that free quote when you call 623-2404-1476 or visit allproshadeconcepts.com. And I told you, I'm not the draft expert. I can research, I look at things, I learn enough to try to help you people, but I had to bring in a draft expert from one of my favorite sites. It's Tyler Tucker from No Ceilings. Tyler, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. It's nice to get through day one and now look forward to day two. Exciting night.
Have you had any sleep over the last couple of weeks with all the draft prep?
Very, very minimal. I had one of those nights last night where you kind of fall into the deep sleep and you wake up and you're like, that time can't be right. So I'm feeling recharged today, ready for another day of madness. But there was a lot of fun storylines last night. It's always fun to kind of see how it plays out and everything.
Am I correct that you're an Arizona guy?
Yeah, I'm in Arizona, so I keep a close eye on the Suns, see what they're up to. So I thought it was a exciting night for Suns fans. I think everyone should be kind of optimistic and upbeat about it.
What do you make of Khaman Maluach at number 10 last night, the Duke product? Obviously, a lot written about him. I think people expected him to go higher than 10, but how do you think the Suns did, and how do you think he'll fit?
Yeah, I think he was getting a lot of buzz throughout the year of going top 5. And it's one of those things where NBA teams always obsess over these lengthy bigs with upside, especially the young ones. But this was a draft class that I think a lot of scouts you talk to, a lot of executives were like, hey, someone's going to slip a little bit in that top 10. And it's not going to be because of talent. It's just going to be like, hey, there's a lot of names that could go up there. So one person or a couple players might just slip a little bit. When it came to Maluach, if you look at his numbers, you might be like, okay, that's not going to get me dancing, when it comes to just stats. But you're talking the development he's taken in 2 years from being over in South Sudan, playing in the FIBA play, and then to Duke last year. It's a completely different player. It's just so impressive how long he's come. The intangibles are great. Everything you hear about the kid is fantastic. That's like the number one feedback I got about Maluach was just, he's a great kid. Like it right away. Everyone wanted to say that. So I think you're getting a really smart, investment when it comes to these type of guys. Usually have a higher floor than I think people realize, because you're getting a rim runner, a potential shot blocker, lob threat, kind of keep it simple early on. And then there's a lot of upside with his game still kind of waiting to get developed. So I think it's a great value for the Suns. You could potentially get a franchise big that you got to just be patient with at 10, which is a really good spot.
What is his NBA ready strengths? I know there's a lot of potential here, but what in year one do you think from his game translates to the NBA?
I think it's his ability as a lob threat. He's a really impressive athlete for how lengthy and how big he is. He can get up the floor. He plays really hard, plays with a lot of passion. But he's over 70% from the field. Duke loved to get him in a pick and roll, and they throw him lobs all the time. And he's just so long and has good hands up there. No one could stop him. Con Knipple, who went to the Charlotte Hornets, Cooper Flagg, they were throwing lobs to him left and right. So I think early on you could have a lot of success with him as a rim runner, as a real force around the basket. He needs to just develop his frame a little bit, but he's a big boy. I mean, he's 7'2", 250. So he's got some great size and foundation. You just need that to kind of get a little bit more strength. But I think his presence around the interior is going to be something he can lean on early, because he plays hard. And when he gets offensive rebounds down there, he's going up strong. So I think that's why it's a good foundation that you can continue to build with. And there's a high upside with Maluach.
I hate doing this because I hate putting comps on guys, but is there a comp of somebody either in the league or recently in the league that fits him?
I think you're a little bit Clint Capella. And when I say Clint Capella, I think that's where you're kind of starting at. Now, I think teams are like, hey, he could get there. Clint Capella's made a lot of money. He's played a long time from just rebounding, playing hard, and being a lob threat and being a good screener. So there's a good foundation for these bigs to, hey, at worst, you can figure out a way to play for a long time if you can be a monster on the boards and set good screens and play good defense. If you can add a little bit more, then you're like, hey, we might find something here. And I think that's the idea with Maluach and a lot of teams I've talked to is like there's room for him to grow, and you've got a good starting point with upside. So I think you're thinking Clint Capella, and then you could start saying like, hey, maybe with time we get even higher than that. There's a good path, and that's why I think the Suns getting him at 10. It's a good value. It's a good swing if you can get that with upside.
What was your biggest surprise of round one? Like what stood out to you that you went either good or bad? I didn't see that coming.
I think Hanson Yang to Portland was just the big one. You're kind of like, wow, I had heard teams were really intrigued and really excited, but I thought that was going to be like a maybe end of the first round pick. And kind of seeing that at that spot, very, very skilled player, extremely talented offensively, but it was just kind of all right, this is the big first curveball of the night. Like you weren't ready for it. So I think that one was the big one for me.
When you look ahead to this evening and round two, how much talent is really there in terms of guys that may still be available on the board? And do you think it's something that the Suns should look at moving up to try to capitalize on some of that?
There's some names to start the second round that I'm a little surprised that are still there. Rasheer Fleming, Ryan Kalkbrenner was a name that a lot of people thought might be going to the Suns at the end of the first round before they got Mark Williams. Maxime Reynaud from Stanford, another talented big. So I think teams with this new format, with the 2 days, are probably working the phones because they want to try to get up for those guys. But if you have a pick later, there's still some really fun specialists, I would put it that way. Like if you need some toughness inside, now obviously I don't think the Suns are going to draft a third center, or get another one. But if you need some toughness inside, there's some guys that can really do that well late. If you need some 3-point shooting, there's a couple specialists I like. Will Richard, Kobe Brea are guys that I would look out for. And then this has been a really deep guard class, so there's still a lot of good, intriguing guards later on. I think Ryan Nembhard is one of the biggest sleepers in this class. He's undersized. He's around 6 foot, but he almost averaged 10 assists a game for Gonzaga. So I think he could be a name to watch out for. And then you get guys like Javon Small and Elijah Martin. So there's some good players still out there. It's just if you want maybe a higher upside guy, you might need to move up a little bit. But I think the Suns are still in a good spot to get a player that could stick and get this roster some depth.
I really enjoy what you guys do over at No Ceilings. How soon do you start the 2026 big board? Or do you already have drafts of it?
We got a mock draft coming out tomorrow.
So there's no sleep even after the draft is what you're
saying. I don't know why we thought of this, but we kind of threw it out to the whole group about a couple months ago, and we were like, it's out there. We got to do it now. So we were like, all right, let's go. So yeah, we've got one coming out tomorrow, and after Summer League, we get to see all these guys. After Summer League, I think we're all going to take a deep breath, and I'm going to be like, everyone sleep. Now get some sleep for a while, and I'll see you guys when the season's starting. So no, it's been a great one. Thank you for having me on.
Are you going to be out at Summer League?
I think I might be there. Just had a little one, so I'm kind of basically like, okay, am I going to be, am I green light to go, or I think I'm going to probably stay here. But the whole team should be out there. I know they're excited to get out there. So it's a fun one.
If you wind up out there, drink on me. Thank you so much for being here. He's Tyler Tucker of No Ceilings. Check out all their coverage of day 2 and their 2026 mock draft that drops tomorrow. Thanks again, Tyler.
No problem. Thanks.
So that's a little perspective on the Suns' first round pick. But you know what? I've got something I got to get off my chest. I know that doesn't come as any surprise here that I have some kind of take. But I was scrolling on the internet last night and beforehand and saw some of these draft pictures of the past, and then realizing that, oh yeah, Maluach or whoever the Suns take at 10 isn't going to wear a Phoenix Suns hat when he hits the podium because it's part of a trade, and apparently they haven't said it yet. And this has been a plague on the NBA for decades now. I mean, here's Donovan Mitchell in a Nuggets hat. I mean, there's friggin' Kawhi Leonard in a Pacers hat. Like, why? Kobe Bryant in a freaking Hornets hat. Why has the NBA not fixed this? I understand. Well, you can't do it unless you move the draft after the new league year sets. Guess what? You arbitrarily create that date. Arbitrarily create something that says the damn guy can wear his hat. Because the NBA, 2 seconds after the Rockets made that pick, Adam Silver walked up to the podium and said, oh, yeah, the Suns have kind of contingently agreed to trade for that pick. They couldn't say the rest of the deal, but they said, yeah, oh, they'd say it 2 minutes before they make the pick and let the player wear the hat of who they were drafted by. Do we have the picture of Maluach getting drafted with the wrong hat? Because this is one of the greatest moments in this kid's life, right? He's emotional. He's there with the commissioner and he's crying, right? And it's a photo that honestly should probably be a keepsake for him for the rest of his life. But instead of him wearing a hat of the team that drafted him, he's wearing a Houston Rockets hat. And yeah, it's a small thing, but in one of the biggest moments of a person's life, shouldn't you do everything in your power to get it right? Because fans aren't stupid in this day and age, and trades aren't kept secret until after they're made. So the NBA, who's supposedly one of the most innovative leagues out there, one of the most forward-thinking leagues in professional sports, need to fix this because it's one of the easiest fixes you could have and will make your players and your fans happier. So, Adam Silver, figure it out because these kids deserve to have that photo that actually is accurate to what happened for them and where they're going to start their careers. It drives me nuts, Shane.
Yeah, I get it.
It drives me nuts.
I get it. I'm just thinking about the 2026 draft now.
Get that big board ready.
Yeah, you got AJ DeBansta. You got that draft is actually kind of nasty.
Shane, you could literally make up any name right now.
The Boozer twins are in it.
I'd have no clue who you're talking about.
The Boozer twins.
Carlos Boozer's kids? Great. Ron Harper's kid went last night. Jason Richardson's kid's going to go.
Jaden Quaintance.
You know what all that does? All that does is make me feel old when you bring that up. I'll worry about the draft.
Can I interest you in Elijah Arenas?
No, I'm good.
That one's not cool. Gilbert Arenas' son. That's not cool.
I don't need to see Bronny James or Bryce James in a Suns uniform.
Oh yeah, Bryce James.
We'll worry about all these other names come March next year. That is another edition of Southwest Bias. You can follow the mustache behind the Mac, Shane Diefenbach at Shane Dief. You can follow me at Espo. You can follow the show at PHNX_sports. And remember, just because Stephen A. Smith screams about it doesn't mean it's real. It just means it's an expensive take. Ahoy, hoy!
We all silly like the mayor.